Today is Saturday, October the 9th, 2010. I'm in the village of Tagoat, Ireland. I'm looking down the street towards N25, which heads down to Rosslare Harbor in one direction. If you turn left, that's Rosslare. If you turn right, you're headed up to Wexford Town, which is about, 35 miles up the road Wexford Town is. Rosslare is a lot closer. Rosslare Harbor is a lot closer. And this is the church here. This is the closest church to the cemetery, and I'll take you down to the cemetery next after this. But it's quite an astounding church. I have no idea when it was built. But I'm going to walk up and we'll take a tour of the inside of the church. Here's a little closer view of the church. Beautiful. This is a view of the inside of the church. I'll kind of try to close up on that stained glass window a little bit. Like I say, I really don't know how old this church is. It looks old, and I have no idea how old the stained glass is or anything. I am going to kind of walk us down the aisle here of this church. It has beautiful pillars and arches. You can see there's more stained glass up there. This is one of the side altars. With woodwork in front of it. We're over here at the other side altar. That's Joseph on this side, and Mary was on the other. And the wooden entrance is on either side into the main altar. Looking from the altar down the other direction. The confessional has, for the priest in the center, has a little double door that he goes in with the curtains. I'm going to go out this side door. There's this big, heavy, thick, the doorway must be 2-3 foot thick. And we're going to go out there and go. There's another entrance. It's just everything here is so beautiful. And the deep, thick windows. Old doors and arches. New housing. It's just like any other town. The old town is probably used to be all fields here, but now it's townhomes, condominiums, apartments surrounding the church and the busy highway. I'll get back a little further so you can see this is the side of the church and the bell tower in the back. This is the priest's house. Now, at first I couldn't believe anybody actually lived here. It looks pretty run down, but at the parish school, where I'm going to do some storytelling on Monday, little Catholic school for this Tagoat church, the gal said, yep, Father Glenn lives there. I've walked around to the other side of the church, and the whole yard is filled with old graves. At first I thought this was where our great-great-grandfather was buried, in this cemetery. But I joyfully found the tombstone yesterday in the really old cemetery down the road, about maybe a mile or so between here and Rosslare. This old wall, stone wall, surrounds the churchyard. Reminds me of the walls I've seen in Maine and back east, the old dark stone walls. And there's N25 out there, and that's the pub on the corner, Cushions. Go up the road here, and there's the church again. Another view from the opposite side of the church. This is Sunday, October the 10th, 2010. Now I'm going to turn this around. I'm turning this camera down towards the highway. The only way you'd know this road was here, coming from the Tagoat church, is that sign there. And we see a lot of these signs in Ireland. Anyway, this is the turnoff as you're going towards Rosslare. Now don't confuse this with Rosslare Harbor, which is further on down towards the way end of the peninsula. This is Rosslare, the old Rosslare. And this is the dirt lane we're going to go down. Now I drove my car down here. I parked way down at the end, but I thought I'd come up here and walk to tell you how long this walk is to get down here. The church we're coming to is going to be very, very old. There's some tombstones from the 1700s, and I don't think there's anything that goes past much after 1890s. I think our great-great-grandparents were, our great-grandpa John McCoy, excuse me. I hope I didn't say Joseph before. It's John McCoy. He was probably one of the last that was buried in this cemetery. I'm going to turn this off for a little bit. We're going to come around that corner. I'll turn it back on around that corner. This is the little narrow, two-laned, windy highway that starts up towards, or on N25. At the corner of this highway, which I can't remember the name of right now, and N25, there is the Tagoat church where our great-great-grandparents more than likely attended. I can't figure out any other church they would have gone to. It's about maybe a mile down the road. We're looking down here. We're headed down towards the cemetery where I found great-great-grandfather John McCoy and his wife Anna Lambert's grave. This is a sign at this little, I call it an alley. I mean, it's just a dirt pathway, enough to get a car down through. One thing I was surprised about is how close they lived to the sea. They were practically on the harbor here. It's very humid. There's lots of palm trees in this area. I asked Philomena, where I'm staying with, what's it like in the winter. And she says not much snow, but the snows have been getting more and more. Here we have the entrance to this old cemetery. There's my little car parked there. There's fields all around, farm fields everywhere. I don't know what they're farming. Somebody said they farmed a lot of beans in this area, and that's why there was more food here during the potato famine, because they didn't have as many beans as a lot of the other places did, or as a lot of the potatoes. They grew beans, and so they had food to live on. I wanted to show you something before we went in the gate here. This is a very old wall, and at one time, if it was terribly muddy, you might want to use these steps. There's 3 steps, one kind of in the grass there, another one further up, another one up there, to climb over the wall to make it easier to get into. You see how old this cemetery is. And again, there's farmland all around. Where you see those trees in the back of the cemetery, behind those trees, it's all fields. Now this is very interesting. This is an old medieval church. This is a medieval ruin here. I attended Mass down at this Tagoat church, down on the corner at N25, the main highway, and he was giving me some history. He thinks this was a medieval village hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and this was what was left of this church. Walk around to the back of this old church. They said there was stained glass in that window there. We'll see the other side of it when we go in. Kind of look at the church at this side. There's a tower there. I'm not too sure. It's grown over with vines and things. They do need to work on it, but in one book I read that these vines are what's holding a lot of this together, and they're afraid to pull them out because the stones will start falling apart. Walk around here to the front of it. See if I can not trip in any of these holes. And here we have the front of the church. We'll go in a second. There are so many tombstones. These are tombs here. These are more important people, I think, because these are tables, flat tops, and writing. So much lichen and such growing on top of this. In places you can hardly read these things. Anyway, I'm walking around on the other side of this old medieval building. I'm going to watch where the rocks are. You see where there was a window there. Around here and you can see the fields. This is just, I'm wondering if these are beans. I don't know. If you were looking at it from this side, it looked like a big bush, but there is a building under there. Back around to the front of the church. I'm going to walk in here. To me, this is a magical place. I feel like I'm walking into another century. or 2 or 3. Now, keep in mind, they did not attend church here. This is a medieval church, and these were ruins probably when our great-grandparents lived and worked and farmed in this area. But this was here. There's some strange things. It looks like a circular or something at the bottom. I'm curious as to what that was. There's one of the old deep windows. There's a little shelf of some sort. This is looking back towards the entrance. Looks like there's another shelf in there. And there's another window. Now, down at the Tagoat Church, Father Glenn was giving me some history of this area. He's a really great historian. He said Mass this morning. I attended Mass down there. I don't know if I said that. But I first thought this was an altar or something, but that is like a tombstone to me. There's writing on it. But again, there's so much lichen over it, you can hardly read it. They need to do some major not reconstruction, but damage control, and it's very costly, and this country's not rich. There's another window. And we're back to this window at the end. They said they're sure there was stained glass in this window because there's grooves up there where the glass, the lead would have fit into the stonework. I'm going to walk out of here. We're facing the cemetery. The road is behind us that I came down.